Mr. Chair, members of the subcommittee, HB 159 bans the use of patrol or security canines in any state, local, or juvenile correctional facility in the Commonwealth. While most states have phased out the use of attack-trained canines in correctional facilities, Virginia remains among the 8 states that continue to use this practice, and we are at the very bottom. Between 2017 and 2022, there were 295 incidents of attack-trained dogs biting incarcerated people in the United States. 271 of those incidents happened right here in the Commonwealth. That's almost 92% of the bites in the entire United States. Virginia is the extreme outlier. Just to put this in perspective, Arizona is the next with only 15 bites over the same amount of time. We have learned about countless reports of canines being attacked, being used to intimidate, threaten, attack inmates at Virginia correctional facilities. The reports are absolutely appalling, and they are complete human rights violations. Numerous incidents left victims permanently disabled and disfigured, and left others with lasting psychological trauma. We have a few people online who can attest to these very incidents. Many of the reports come from incarcerated people who were bitten while prone, meaning they were already on the ground at the time of the attack and were no longer a risk. The use of attack dogs also reflects a troubling chapter in Virginia's history, reminiscent of the use of dogs during the enslavement and Jim Crow eras. Multiple testimonies detail officers shouting racial slurs and taunts as dogs bite into the inmate's flesh, emphasizing the concerning racial aspects of this practice. Despite these incidents, corrections officials argue that patrol canines are necessary to maintain prison security and safety. Yet there are no studies that support this claim, and the vast majority of our nation's correctional facilities operate without them. Mr. Chair and members of the committee, I ask that you vote in favor of this bill, which strives to protect everyone in these facilities and foster a more just and humane correctional system in Virginia. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you, Delegate Siebold. Anything to add relative to your bill, Delegate Webert?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Mr. Chairman, my bill is different in that it still allows the use of canines, partly because, in my mind, when we were talking about DOC, and if you look at what we've had to do over the last couple of years, and what we are going to do in the next couple of years in regards to shifting our prison population around so that we actually have a good officer to prisoner ratio, et cetera. I believe that we are understaffed, and that actually puts our inmates and our correction officers in dangerous situations, and the use of the canine is a tool. So what my bill does, Delegate Siebold mentioned some of the statistics that we have occurred. So what my bill does is it makes DOC establish best use practices when it comes to the canine, and then in regards to where we cannot use canine. So, for instance, with the exception of imminent spontaneous threat of death or bodily injury, you cannot use a canine to extract a prisoner, and you cannot use a canine to intervene in an altercation, fight, or other incident between 3 or fewer prisoners. And you can also, and those same guidelines are then also in use for the juvenile facilities as well. And that's the primary difference between us. Between our pieces of legislation. I have the privilege of my locality hosts a canine law enforcement trial. DOC does not participate, but the ones that do have a very strict standard and a very capable use of canines, and it is amazing to see what they can do as to be used as a tool, and we don't want to necessarily take it away, but we do want to address the problem and try and move forward as we try and continue to improve our correctional facilities.
Thank you, Delegate Webert. So I think you've heard the distinction between the two bills, are very similar in nature, back before the committee. If there are questions, if not, we will go to testimony. Those in favor of the bill, of either bill, and And then if you are also wanting to speak generally to the bill, you can get in the in favor line, and then those who are opposed will come after.
Thank you, Chairman. Thank you, Committee. I'm Kim Bobo, Director of the Virginia Interfaith Center for Public Policy. We actually support both bills. We certainly believe a ban is the direction we need to go long term. In the short term, if the bill proposed by Delegate Weber would be an incredible first step forward. If there's other ways we can do this that keep our officers safe, we certainly are for that, but we have a crisis in Virginia on this issue, right? As was described by the numbers, this is not a national crisis. This is a crisis here in Virginia. And so both these bills would make a real step forward, and so we support both bills.
Thank you.
Good morning, Mr. Chair and Committee. I'm Jennifer Dalton, the Director of Virginia Justice Alliance, and we support HB 159.
Thank you.
Good morning. Again, I'm David Smith with SALT, Social Action Linking Together, the director there. This is a bill that I've been working on with Delegate Corey before Delegate Siebold took it, with Delegate Lopez through Interfaith Action for Human Rights when he carried a similar bill a couple years ago. This is something we need to address and address it quickly. We have folks that are being intimidated and massively harmed in prison. When I spent my time incarcerated at a level 3 receiving facility, they would regularly bring the dogs around just to intimidate us for no other reason. So this is a systemic issue in DOC. I would say either bill, but specifically Delegate Siebold's bill, because it is the one that aligns us with the majority of other states in our country, and really with the military as well. Thank you.
Thank you.
Good morning, Mr. Chair, members of the committee. Chuck Mayer, representing Julian, civil and human rights firm. We support either bill. This is a problem that doesn't exist in 49 other states. They figured out how to run their correctional facilities without people getting bitten by dogs, so it's incumbent upon us to address the problem. Thank you.
Good morning, Subcommittee. My name is Hassan Shabazz. I am Director of Prisoners' Rights Clinic. I did 23.5 years in prison. I served time at 10 different prisons. I was at Red Onion, Wallens Ridge, Sussex 1, where they all enforce the use of dogs, not only as, for search and seizure of drugs and so forth like that, but for intimidation, mostly. While I was there, I many times saw the dogs being sicked on people. I saw men being dragged by the dogs. I saw men so scared of going out their pod to go to eat because of the use of the dogs as intimidation. They hold the dogs right on the walkway. So when you're walking down the walkway in order to go eat or go to visit or wherever you go, the dogs are right there, chomping at you like this. Pow, pow. And if you can imagine the feeling of not knowing whether or not this officer is going to release this dog, right? Or whether the dog is going to get so close that he bites you and you haven't done anything to warrant that action, then you, of course, are going to be scared and fearful, maybe for your life, And so I do really support this bill. I think that it's necessary. I think that we need to address the use of canines in that manner, because recently I was at Bon Secours during a medical visit, and I saw officers that came in who had been bitten by their own dogs. And she said, the woman said, "What happened to you?" She said, "We were training the dogs." And he said, "What happened?" He said, "Well, we meet force with force." But we know that the idea of a prisoner surrounded by officers who have a canine, to say that you meet force with force in a way that you would use the dog as a weapon, to me, I think that is very deplorable.
Thank you. Thank you for sharing.
Thank you.
Mr. Chairman, members of the committee, thank you. Taj Mayenhaft with the Humanization Project. For all the aforementioned reasons, we support this bill strongly, and also for the simple humanity side of this. Having Virginia attack human beings with dogs 18 times as often as the second highest state does not serve any of us. I have also personally seen the dogs intimidate and harm people who were doing nothing wrong when I was inside. I've seen the psychological ripple effects of that, having seen dozens of people thereafter too afraid to go to class, to go to rehabilitative programs, and to go to eat until those dogs are gone because of that fear. That serves none of us. Thank you.
Thank you.
Good morning, Mr. Chair, members of the committee. Sean Winota speaking on behalf of the ACLU of Virginia, and I believe this is the last bill I have to speak in front of you today for, so thank you for your time. The ACLU of Virginia does not take a position on this bill, so I'm sort of in category 3 here. We've spent a lot of time working with Delegate Siebold and Delegate Webert's office trying to work on language with this. Just recently speaking with DJJ representatives and DOC representatives, I think that we can move this bill forward and work on the language. I think that we're probably pretty close on taking a big step towards addressing the issue, because it certainly the numbers do speak for themselves. So we do ask you that you do report a bill out that we can continue to work on. Thank you.